everyone. Well, welcome to the Research, Innovation, and Scholarship Lunch and Learn series, where we share innovative ideas, projects, and activities taking place at Georgian College. I'm Dr. Mira Ray, Director of Research and Innovation. I would first like to express respect, gratitude, and appreciation for the Indigenous peoples who have inhabited and continue to live on the land where Georgian College is located. Since we are all working remotely, I encourage you to learn more about the land where you are currently situated if it is different from the college. Georgian College acknowledges that all campuses are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. Georgian College is dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Today, I'd like to welcome all currently 34 participants in this Lunch and Learn talk. So excited to see this group. Clearly, the metaverse is one that is intriguing to all of us. I would like to also welcome Dr. Jamie Doran, who's Executive Director of Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, who will be speaking today. Jamie draws on over 20 years of experience in the innovation ecosystem, helping businesses, building innovation clusters across Ontario. Without further ado, he asked me to keep it short. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie for his talk. The one thing I'll say, if you do have questions, there is the chat feature. Please feel free to use the chat to type in your questions or save them, and we'll come to questions at the end of the talk. All right, thanks everyone, and over to you, Jamie.
Okay, you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you everybody for coming. I'm so happy to see so many people. I just saw some names popping up in the list of attendees, people I haven't seen in a long time, and I think that's really awesome. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. You may have seen a social media post that looked like this, and there was a menti.com question or survey there, and you can put a code in. So if you haven't done that survey, please go there right now and do that. You can do it while I do the introduction part. Doesn't take long. It's just about 30 seconds to answer all the questions. And so do that. And if we have time at the end, I'll go over the results. It's just a bunch of questions about the metaverse and where you're at in the whole metaverse scheme of things. So let's dive into it. And we'll just say that if you have questions that I think Mira said, we'll just save them to the end. There'll be lots of time for discussion. Okay. So what's all the hype about this metaverse? Well, here I am. I'm the Executive Director of Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship at Georgian. At Georgian, we interact with a lot of students and the faculty and staff in the community. And one of our big goals really is to help move along innovation and help companies grow, help students learn. And the metaverse is this massive concept that's just kind of coming down on us, it seems. And so it's our job to stay on top of it. So, some of the hype, here's some shots taken from articles that have been posted over the last few months. And what you'll notice in here is the articles kind of range in like the metaverse is amazing to, it's going to be a dystopia to, it was about kids, but now it's not about kids. It's about so much more. And then here you got Morgan Stanley at the bottom, $8 trillion US market value. Here's another estimate, $30 trillion. Massive. So why is all this happening? So here you go, this Google Trends. This is just from the last year, so 1 year period. You can see nothing about the metaverse, and suddenly on October 29th, it's just exploded, the number of articles about the metaverse. So what actually happened there? Well, that was when Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook was going to change its name to Meta, and that it had these big plans of opening up the metaverse for everybody. That changed the tune. Everybody started to talk about it at that point. And then if you look down below there, there's a yellow and a red line. Those are the dimensions of augmented reality and virtual reality. And you can see that's pretty flat. So it was really, really about this concept of the metaverse. What else was going on? A lot of articles are about virtual real estate. So, everybody's talking about housing prices and everything right now, but there's then this boom around virtual real estate. This is buying spaces inside video games. So corporations, celebrities, private investors, And the one article there on the right-hand side shows Fashion Street in a virtual road called Decentraland, $2.4 million for just a virtual piece of property in the area that's going to contain all the stores and everything that's going to go into Decentraland. So that's the largest sale. So what else? Then there was all this NFT stuff, and this is still going on. So bonus points if you know what NFT stands for. If you don't, non-fungible tokens, and we could do an entire talk around non-fungible tokens. They'll come up a few times in this talk as well. But you can see that mostly it's about art. So people are selling art or rare digital images. So at the bottom, you got the two CryptoPunks there. So the one on number 4, the fourth one selling for almost $12 million is the CryptoPunk wearing the COVID mask. So there's not very many of those. So it's a rare version of the punk. So that's why it's so expensive. And so there's other artworks out there. So you look at that one, it's $92 million for the merge. So there's big speculation on the value of these things. These are the first NFTs. That's why they're kind of hype around it. But another thing that happened over the last year, and even more than that, but because of COVID, was the sales of, here, maybe you can see in my video, I got my Oculus Quest 2 right here. It's just sales of VR headsets are just going like crazy. And then all the people who are calculating market size and market potential for new technologies are estimating that sales of these things are going to go through the roof, and a new area, even not just VR, but augmented reality is going to just skyrocket over the next few years. And then the last thing that's kind of going on all over the news is the cryptocurrency market. It's been, I feel like over the last year is when people are really starting to tune into it. There's people, of course, have been following it for several years, but over the last year, people have been tuning in, figuring out how to purchase it themselves, and now people own Bitcoin or Ethereum and things like that. So those are the things that were really all over the news, and it's all connected to the metaverse. And what this did was create a big wave of excitement and terror. And so why is there so much excitement and terror? So I've done this Jamie's top 10 of why people are so excited about the metaverse. This is where you need the drum roll. So number 1 is people are thinking about this as like customized reality, in that I can have, if I have a device on my head or through my cell phone or through AR glasses, I can have a view of the world tailored just to me. And the information I want to see is going to be given to me. That's exciting. Wealth beyond belief. The value of the fact that this metaverse concept means that it's almost like you can create another Earth, but it's totally digital, and it could be bigger than that. So the wealth amount is humongous. The creator-owned economy. I mentioned those NFTs before. NFTs are a way, it's like a contract, a digital contract that allows you to own pieces of the internet. That is a massive change from what we're used to. Surf in 3D. So I promised Virginia, who is on this call, that I would mention the flat internet. So right now we're used to the flat internet. It's the boring old flat internet. But now with the metaverse, we'll be able to surf the net in 3D. It means I can put my goggles on or my AR thing and I can surf in 3D. Be anywhere. So this double-sided statement here. So be anywhere. Like right now, we could have video conferences and I can just video conference you anywhere in the world. But what if then, if through immersive virtual reality, we could have a meeting, you could be 4 corners of the world, different people, we could all meet in a virtual space and feel side to side. We could also have holograms of ourselves, sitting at someone's kitchen table, and they see us sitting there. It feels like you're there. Virtual school and work. So we're very used to sitting in our home offices or at our office working in front of a desk, but we could rebuild that office and kind of work in a different way. Same with school, can have a virtual campus. Immersive entertainment, massive category here. So, imagine instead of just watching a movie, being in the movie. And many people are playing the, multiplayer video games where they're in there with hundreds of other people playing the same game. That's immersive entertainment, but this is where it would open up to the masses. So that's pretty exciting. Digital twins. So digital twins, that's not, a digital copy of the same person. What this is a 3D representation of something you're familiar with, like your house. but you can have it entirely in digital format. And for companies, this is pretty cool because you can have a digital twin of your factory or of your products, and then you can mess around with them in an innovation sort of sense to move it along or test different things out, and then so it's way cheaper to do that than it is to say build a prototype of it. Mobile desktop, also extremely cool. So we're all right now tethered to our phones, our computer screen, and we're sitting in a chair somewhere, we're looking at the screen, and that's how we interact with computers. And that's the way it's been since the beginning of computers. What if that wasn't the case? So you don't need this office and you don't need any of that. I can just get up and walk down the street and I can still be on my desktop if I want to, and I could still be watching this lunch and learn, mobile, totally mobile. And the last one here is dematerialization. So this is not the Star Trek dematerialization really, but what it means is it kind of relates back to that digital twin ideas, and is that we're used to owning things, and then owning things means that they have to be produced, like mass produced, and we have to mine minerals, and we've got to tear up the environment. And what if the metaverse actually is one of the pathways towards a more sustainable future? Yes, the computer power takes a lot to run all these computers, but what if we didn't have to mine the earth and destroy the earth, and we could, all those physical things we think we need, we could do that all in a virtual format. So that's my top 10. I don't know if you agree with me. I didn't number them from 1 to 10. They're all kind of equal in my mind, but that's why I think a lot of people are excited about the metaverse. So I keep saying the word metaverse, and so, but let's say what my avatar here says, what exactly is the metaverse? So I want to take a little step back, and I think probably if you've looked into the metaverse, you might know this. So where did the term come from? 1992, coined by Neil Stephenson from his novel Snow Crash. Some of you may have read that. And it's been kind of playing out in the ether, people using this term for a while. And it started to pop up a lot more when people started to think about the evolution of the web. So here's a diagram of the evolution of the web, starting from way back in the old computer PC era. You get web 1.0, which was all those static web pages. And then we go to web 2.0, where it's no longer the static web page, it's more social. We got a little bit more interaction there, and web pages are become functional, a little bit more like programs. And that's where we kind of are right now. We have the entire social web, so all the social media, Facebook, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then if you continue on a linear path, that's the kind of theoretical evolution. You're going to go web 3.0, which is a web that has a lot more meaning, and web 4.0, who knows what that's going to be like. That would be the linear path, but that's not what we've done. So what we did is kind of taken a turn at web 2.0, where in order to create web 3.0, there's technologies that were missing. And so they had to be developed, and it's taken time. So it's taken a little bit more time. And the web has become a little bit more social than it was before. So I put a little couple arrows on here. Blockchain and NFTs are game changers, in that they're changing the way that we look at the web and the way the web will function. So I put like a UR here. And as these technologies get mass adopted and we find new ways to use them, that's how the metaverse is really going to expand in functionality. And then underneath all of that is the sort of infrastructure layer of being able to actually make it happen. So when you ask people about, okay, define the metaverse. So here's one. This is Tony Parisi. He is from Unity Technologies, or was one of the original generation VR developers. Now he's head of XR ads and e-commerce. I mentioned him a couple times through this talk because he has some really interesting opinions. Here's one. He says, there is only one metaverse. It is the sum total of all publicly accessible virtual worlds, real-time 3D content, and related media that are connected on an open global network controlled by none and accessible to all. Very, very concrete definition. So let's ask somebody else. So we're going to go, and here's Alex Williams asked his 8-year-old son, can you tell me what the metaverse is? And his son said, 1 minute you get scammed, another minute you're having the best time of your life making billions of dollars. So what is the difference here? One is a designer of the metaverse, and the other is the user experience. So from the designer side of things, the nuts and bolts of the metaverse are very, very important. And the governance structure is also going to be really important. From the 8-year-old perspective, it is the full spectrum of emotion and experience, from bust to boom. So you're also going to hear people say metaverse, and they're going to mean two different things. Some might say on the right hand or the left hand side here, where there's this guy in his kitchen, he's using HoloLens and he's seeing a hologram there, but he's also seeing a bunch of his computer screens. So it's kind of like all of the technologies we're used to using, but kind of superimposed on your physical world. So it's like AR, but it's a little bit more advanced than that. And so it's that. And then others are talking about it more of almost from an entertainment perspective or a communication perspective, where it's immersive 3D worlds, where you put your goggles on and away we go. We're going into these fantasy worlds and we're interacting. So, which one is it that we're actually talking about? And the answer is it's both, right? So they're both the same thing. We're talking about different aspects of the same thing. So let's just go back a little bit here. Way back in 2006, and this was 16 years ago, and I was thinking in my head, 16 years ago, what the heck was happening 16 years ago? Well, a group of people, 60 experts, got together to create the Metaverse roadmap. So people were thinking about this back then and how we're going to develop it and what it would be like. And just to put this in perspective, you got Paul Martin lost to Stephen Harper, so he resigned, and Stephen Harper became our prime minister in 2006. The movie Cars came out, and the Nintendo Wii was released, and there was the sort of critically acclaimed game. So that might park it in your mind if you were, aware of what was going on back then. And so that was 2006. So this group, industry, academics, futurists, journalists, and computing experts, especially those in virtual reality, got together and came up with a roadmap. And it's interesting to take a look at this back then. And so here, this is a diagram of the metaverse that I find interesting. So the blue circle is the metaverse. It's everything that Tony Parisi was saying. It's saying all the assets of everything that we consider the metaverse. And they broke it into 4 quadrants using these axes here. So the x-axis, or the horizontal axis, goes from external to intimate. And the y-axis, or vertical one, goes from augmentation to simulation. So you can think of everything on the left-hand side as dealing with the outside world in some way. It might be a representation of it, or it might be actual physical reality with some sort of data superimposed. And on the other side, on the right side, is the inside world. So it's all stuff that points to internal data, or it's very specific to the person. So just so we're all on the same page, we're just going to quickly go through these 4 things, okay? So augmented reality, you've heard about this, AR, and these are some of the more sophisticated versions of AR. You've got smart glasses, got holograms, you got Microsoft HoloLens, which was in another image back there, and heads-up display. So you can imagine being in your car, you're just driving along, but your windshield is basically a computer screen giving you vital information as you drive. So that's augmented reality. So you can still see reality, but there's information superimposed on it. And you might have had some AR experience yourself. So here's some from my world. Using QR codes to access menus while we're at restaurants during COVID, because they didn't want to hand out a menu. So you can virtually view the menu. And then, we buy a lot of stuff from Centra, and sometimes I can't read the labels. I'm pretty excited about new products. So I just buy them, and I use my Google Translate to help me view it. It translates the text live. And then in the bottom part here is Pokemon Go. It's a picture of, here, this is a bonus question for you if you know which Pokemon that is. But Pokemon Go is huge. It's the biggest AR app that came out in the last few years, and there's a new one out now, apparently. Life logging. Life logging is all about data, and it's either personal data. So there's a couple of examples here. The one is like a health tracker. Some of you might be, measuring your number of steps, or it could be about weight loss, calorie intake. In the middle example really is about businesses. Business tracks lots of data. They it could be a manufacturer tracking efficiency of production, could be a business tracking sales. It might be financial. So all your banking, so your personal banking or your business banking, and all those numbers back there. And then across the top are the social media icons, because the back end of social media is all about life logging. It is about tracking everything that you're doing on social media, your preferences, your activities. And you remember Facebook sending you hey, remember 1 year ago you posted this. All of that's in there like a giant scrapbook. Mirror worlds. So mirror worlds and virtual reality, they have some things in common, but the mirror worlds really are a reflection of our physical reality. So the most popular example is Google Earth. So you take the entire Earth, it's a digitized map of it, so that I can actually just use the map, or I can do street view, and then I can walk around anywhere in the world. And that's a really fascinating thing. And then the other area that everybody is familiar with is, what we're on today. We're on a Zoom call. There's in the middle, over COVID, we got very used to that. So it's essentially that this video conference screen has replaced the office table. This is us working in the office, but it's just kind of a mirror of that in a weird way. And Georgian has a virtual campus through the Immersive Learning Research Network. So there's a picture up there on the right-hand upper part of our team sitting in our virtual campus office. And we just met there actually at 11 o'clock today. And we meet there every other week. And then the other thing that popped up was, conferences. We couldn't bring a ton of people together during COVID. So the whole concept of a conference was reinvented. And so instead of attending the conference in physical reality, we attended in kind of this virtual format, but you can still do a ton of stuff like that. And that's Kat and Cecilia there that were running our RISE conference. A couple other mirror worlds that you may not think about, but one is these congregations or groups. So I put one here, virtual church. So instead of going to the church, you could just meet online, and you're all of like mind and you meet together. The middle one is virtual dating. It's a huge thing. Some of your kids, and maybe some of you, play Minecraft. You might not think of Minecraft as a mirror world, but it is and can be, in that, we can come together to collectively construct something, and we might construct a replica of something in the world. So it could be a historical building. It could be a machine. There are people building computers in Minecraft. And in the bottom left corner, that is Foldit, where, this is kind of mirror world at the microscopic level, where people get together and learn or try to find the best ways to fold proteins. And then I mentioned way earlier this idea of digital twins. Digital twins fit in here too, because they are a representation of a physical space or a physical object that we may want to work with as a business. And then this last category, or last quadrant in that diagram, was about virtual reality. And I think a lot of people understand what virtual reality is now because it's been in the news, but it's really this immersive a digital world that does not necessarily have to be about the real world. So it can be independent of it. And so you can see in it, and you can access it in 2D or 3D. People are kind of going along the 3D route right now. And there's Rob and I standing beside a volcano as one of the worlds inside AltSpace VR. But on the right-hand side, I put a screenshot of our collaboratory episode where we interview Isabelle Deschamps, and she's doing a research project on using VR to teach anatomy. And so the upper picture is a shot from 3D Organon where you can see the sort of corpse figure there, but you can learn about anatomy, and that one's the muscles and skeletal system. So those are those. And we have some others. Georgian is a leader in using VR for teaching and learning. We actually have quite a few. There's about 6 or 7 programs that utilize VR right now, and about 12 VR pilots happening. There's always more happening, so probably those numbers are small, but there's a lot going on. And I did want to make a call out to Rob Theriault, Michelle O'Brien, and Angeline King, who just won the Minister of Colleges and Universities Award of Excellence for future-proofing students. And their Indigenous House is a way to learn Indigenous language in context. So students and elders and teachers can go in there and learn the language. Really fascinating use of a space like that. I mean, below the pictures really are about, we could learn ballistics, we could do biochemistry or biology, and we do some programming in nursing. So lots of potential. Outside of the academic world, here's a list of some of those top 3D virtual worlds that are kind of either there's lots of people going there or they're all over the news right now. And so there's a few I already mentioned. That the ones with the stars are the ones that you can do that are kind of not necessarily primarily for education, but are utilized for education. So AltSpace, Engage, and Tivoli Cloud. There's a couple with dollar signs there. Those ones are heavy investment going into those spaces. So Decentraland is this big, it's the image in the top right, the blue and pink one up there. It's this place that would be full of shops and concert venues, place for socialization. There can be some gaming going on in there. So you can go there now. It's a bit of a ghost town, but it won't be for long. And then there's the Sandbox, which is a game that people are buying land in, and that's not available yet, but it will be. And then there's some other popular ones. I just put some images there. If you're familiar, you might know them. But right now, there's about 150 of these virtual worlds, and some of them, when you go into the world, like AltSpace VR, there's worlds within the world that you can visit. So it's expanding crazy. You might have heard mixed reality. Mixed reality is really a blend of all the things that we just talked about. So it's all coming together. There's one image here. This is an image from Microsoft, and it's two guys wearing HoloLens, but they're doing the planogram or the planning for a new store, and they are utilizing a virtual object of the shelf of the products, and they're just kind of moving that around, and they're trying to see how that is. So it's a blend of real reality plus virtual reality, and this digital twin of their store, and maybe using holograms and such. Plus, it's pulling data from the cloud, so it's like everybody's seeing the same thing. And then Rob sent me this really interesting new mixed reality app, which I haven't tried yet, but we are going to try, or maybe we're going to try. Anyway, what it is you put your virtual reality headset on, walk around your house, which then maps your house, and then your house becomes this game where you have to go through your house and find all the ghosts. And rid your house of ghosts, I assume. It just looks very terrifying. So maybe we'll try that one later this year. There's a lot to think about with the metaverse, and there's so many different components of it. And so how do you wrap your head around all the components? So a group of researchers in Korea looked at this, and they broke it down to what they were calling the 5 C's of the metaverse. And it is a useful tool to think about it. So you can think about canon. So canon being all the assets of the metaverse. So it's everything that people have created, like software, the 3D objects, the NFTs, all that stuff, all the canon. And that constantly is being changed over time and built upon. Then you have creators. So it's creators of the metaverse itself, like at the technical level, to users who are creating objects that go into the metaverse and that stay in there. And then you have, I'm going to skip up to go to consistency, in that it is a world, a digital world that is consistent, in that if I put something there that I made yesterday, it's going to stay there. I can go here today and it's still there. Somebody may have even picked it up and moved it or whatever. And so in a 3D immersive world, that's true, but also in a 2D way it could be true as well. And then connection, meaning that I can connect to it from any device. So I could connect to the metaverse with my phone. I could connect with the 3D glasses or my AR tool. A lot of my products in the house or appliances and things around me are connected to it. So there's a lot of different ways that things and people are connected to it. And then there's currency, and currency being the fact that there's financial transactions happening in association with the metaverse. So that could be, it might be cryptocurrency and stuff, but it doesn't have to be. It can be actual regular dollars and regular commerce. So that's one way of kind of grouping it together. So in terms of governance, there's also this idea of these 7 rules of the metaverse. And I think that because the metaverse is taking shape, people are worried that it may, go in one direction versus another. So here I mentioned Tony Presi before. This is from his 7 rules of the metaverse, and it's interesting to read these. One is that there's only one metaverse. So when people talk about multiple metaverses, no, they're all one. They're just maybe different virtual worlds connected. The metaverse is for everyone. It's not a walled garden where you have to have, your club pass to get in. It is meant for everyone. Nobody controls it. So that means no corporation can control the whole thing. And actually, it's impossible to control all of it. And the metaverse is open, meaning that anyone can build on it. It's not a closed system. And number 5, the metaverse is hardware independent. And that means that I can access it with any device. So I don't need a 3D headset to do it. And I might for some parts of the metaverse, but maybe not all. And then all kinds of different products and things can connect to it as well. And the metaverse is a network. So that when I was saying everything can connect to it, that means data that is associated with this metaverse is accessible throughout the entire network. Doesn't matter where I am. And the last one is the metaverse is the internet. So you remember that one slide I showed at the beginning of the evolution of the web? Well, it's inevitable that the metaverse is the next evolutionary step of the internet. And one last quote here, John Radoff, he says, it's about the inexorable dematerialization of physical space, distance, and objects, the virtual economy of abundance. And this goes back to my top 10 list, saying that in this virtual realm where we can create digital objects and own things in a digital realm, it's dematerialization of some of that physicality that we're used to, and get rid of the distance so that I can meet you anywhere in the world and we can connect. Here's a diagram of what people would think. So also the same guy, John Radoff. So you can look at it like the metaverse onion, and those who know my past know I know onions. So there's these layers. And on the outside layer, that's where most people are going to be. And that's just the experience layer, stuff we're accessing. It's what we're doing now. You may be playing a game on your phone. You may be using a virtual reality game. You may be going to work or school. And so you'll see there on the right-hand side, there's some orange words. And I just added a few things to the list here to indicate where education might plug in. So it might be where we're working for a school, and that's our experience because we're using apps and we're maybe going to the school. And then as you work your way down, we get all the way down to those kind of gray layers, which are towards the infrastructure of it. So how it's actually functioning and the technology used to access it. And if you think of those 7 layers, here's some companies that are currently acting in those layers. So in the experience level, you'll probably recognize a lot of those, a lot of game companies in there, but also Meta, Microsoft, all that. And as you sort of move across, you see some of the same companies pop up, in some cases different. So it's kind of impossible. The message of this really is it's almost impossible for a single company to be amazing at all 7 of these areas. Okay. So why is Georgian so interested in the metaverse? And there's my avatar that says, okay, whoa, stop, I think I get it now. So why is Georgian so interested in the metaverse? I mentioned at the beginning is because we're an educational institution and we want to serve our students the best. So they need to know about this because it's the future. This is a giant heavy text slide, and I'm not going to read it all because I don't think I should, but there is tons of benefits to education in using the metaverse for education. I have a couple slides after this that call out a couple of things, and I do want to make a reference to Rob Terrio's Lunch and Learn talk. So he gave a talk in December where he talked about Georgian's experimental work using virtual reality and XR in teaching scenarios. So I would definitely check that out because it's more detailed than what I can provide today. But I do want to make a few call outs because the metaverse is going to be vastly important for education going forward, more so each year. So, during COVID, we had to shut the college down and everything had to be delivered remotely. So, amazing. Our faculty and staff and admin worked incredibly hard to make sure that we could deliver all those programs. So now the metaverse, as it grows and evolves, will make that even easier. It means students can plug in from anywhere. We can work from anywhere. And then there's things like AR, very useful for us in teaching trades and medicine. There's a couple examples there. There's one with the machine, so training, and the bottom one in the bottom right-hand corner is kind of seeing the invisible, right? We can talk about anatomy right on a patient. In our nursing program, we got hybrid classrooms on the bottom left. We got the virtual classroom that's kind of in virtual reality, or that mirror world. And then in the upper right corner, we got Blackboard there, and Blackboard and other tools that we are unlocking in the coming year help us track student learning and create adaptive learning for our students, which means that each student can have a customized plan and program. And if they're struggling in one area, the data will tell us, and we can then assist the student. And there's some pretty exciting news coming up where we will be making available some AI personal assistants for students in the coming year. I can't wait. It's going to be neat. Like, hey, when's my assignment due? And my AI robot can help me stay on track. And there's a couple more here that I think are kind of the next level, but there's money savings to be had. If we're dematerializing, that means that a lot of things that used to cost us money for physical objects, maybe we don't need to do it that way anymore. Maybe there's a simulation or VR way that we can do it, so that can save money. And then there's these other tools like Minecraft, where we could work together to in a virtual space like that to build a big project, learn about project management and architecture and design and all sorts of things like that. And I mentioned the VR classroom, attend anywhere in the world. And of course, in Rob's talk, he mentions about doing training for things where it might be dangerous or impossible, or do things that are impossible, like time travel. What if I want to take my class back to ancient Rome? You could do that in the metaverse. So there's always challenges, right? There's always challenges, and there are a lot coming up with the metaverse. And I would just point out a couple that are really hitting us, and that is the configuration of devices for education. So you get these headsets, and when you get by an Oculus headset, it's you signing into your Facebook account. So how do I do that then if we have 50 students who want to use the same headset? We can't be sharing the headset. So we need educational devices so that it's easier for us to use them in an educational setting, right? And then there's some issues around accessibility and inclusion. We're going to make sure that when we have these things available for students, that everybody can use them, and we're not excluding anybody. There's battery life problems, blah, 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 like all the technology types of things, technical assistance. We need people in place to make sure that's possible. And then, there's some overarching challenges of the metaverse itself that people are a bit worried about, meaning that, what if people are in there too much and they disconnect from the real world? There's this idea that social connections are weaker. So if you meet somebody in a virtual world, do you really feel like they're a real person? If you did something bad to them, do you feel bad about it? And if that was the case, is that going to lead to more crime? And then because you're doing everything in the metaverse in a virtual digital space, that means all of your activities are logged somewhere. So that's somebody could steal your information and such. So this is a diagram I was kind of excited to share with you today. As some of you might know, that way a long time ago, I used to be a teacher, and I taught high school for 2.5 years. Before that, I taught some public school. And way back in class where I was teaching grade 4, there was a kid in the class who was not doing very well. And I was a student teacher, so I'm listening to my teacher, and she's like, well, why don't you try to help him read and blah, blah, blah. And I did some digging, and I found out that he hated reading, except he loved comic books and read tons of them all the time. So I was thinking at the time, well, what if why can't he just read comic books? And the teacher came back saying, no, these are the 6 things that he has to read for us to mark him off on. And that issue, stuck with me for a really long time. And I thought about it quite a bit as, what if you could have a way to start anywhere in education? So this is kind of future speculation, but what if that child who loved comic books started there, and from comic books found other things similar that were exciting to read. So reading ability getting better, maybe learns about, say, physics because it's Doctor Who and time travel, loves the comic book art, starts to learn that. Doctor Who visits all these different places in time and history, so you could learn about a history. And from there, you keep going. And if you had an AI personal assistant, that would help you kind of go through. And so by the time that child grows up to adulthood, has learned so much stuff, has all the credentials to prove that they learned it, and has this AI coach that's been going along with them. And so you see the robot has evolved along this path too. That's where I see this going, and it would be amazing if that could happen. I think that colleges and universities and can really help students along this pathway, so they become the framework for this to actually happen. So I want to talk about a couple of provocative ideas here. We're almost at the end of the slide deck, and I have a really short video to show you. So that's next. So please just watch this video.
Lo que quiero decir, ¿para dónde voy? No.
Estoy presente ahora. Me amo. Estoy libre.
Habla español.
Bueno.
Parece que alguien está intentando vulnerar su cuenta. Por favor, espere mientras reinicio su dispositivo. Hola, Juliana. Me alegra verte.
Lo que quiero.
Okay, so that was kind of sensory overload, but what I want you to get from that is there is this concept that we could be aiming at a future like that. And that hyper reality video is much longer than that. I cut that down so you could just get a sense of it. And we'll provide the link to that as well if you're interested. But it's easy to find on YouTube if you look up hyper reality. But anyway, what you'll see there is that person saying, walking around with their smart glasses, and the entire world is inundating them with ads and opportunities and whatever. So that's the dystopian future of where the metaverse could go. And some of these provocative ideas are that there are corporations who are going to try to control everything and want to control us and control our time and our attention. But is control possible? Some people say that NFTs are the solution to that, and that when we are working on the internet and creating things, we can secure them through NFTs, which means that I own it then. And if somebody goes off and uses it, then I get paid whenever it gets used. This is cool in that it creates the rise of the virtual creator economy. It means now that, there's so many people out there, and, myself included, but I know many people on my team who create things, and we want to sell them on the internet. But sometimes it's hard. But what if it was an NFT that protected it, and then we can be paid? And people saying that everything will change. So your identity, privacy, payments, economy, it's all going to change because of this metaverse concept. Then the virtual economy includes a variety of different things, but two blue points here, which I think are critical to think about. Students graduating right now from college are able to work in the metaverse. They could go out today and find a job in the metaverse. So working with the companies creating it, working with the company who's creating content for it. And then newborns born right now are going to grow up with the metaverse, just like children who were born in the recent past who've just grown up with the internet and don't understand that, the internet wasn't always around. Incredible. And so over on the right, the left-hand side, there's a list of some of these concepts that are really popping in and that could play a big role. And then, so I wanted to talk about this virtual economy. We're almost at the end. And top 10 jobs of the metaverse in the near future. This is my last top 10 list. VR fashion designer. So, if we're all going to have these avatars, I want to look good. Right now, I'm wearing what the program was allowing me to wear. I got a blue hoodie on. But what if I want something cooler? I could purchase it. So I need a fashion designer to make that. Mushroom hut vendor. How many people out there have been playing video games? You walk around the video game, there's a giant mushroom with a door in it, and you go inside, and then there's all kinds of cool stuff to buy in there for the game. Well, this would be a job. You could actually be a vendor inside of a hut somewhere, or a virtual store, and selling virtual items to people. Virtual tour guide. The metaverse is going to be so massive, it's impossible to know what's out there. So instead of travel agencies, that in the real world, there'll be travel agencies for the metaverse, so you can get a good experience, the one you're looking for. World builders and debuggers. So yes, we need people to build the worlds, but what really excites me is this whole idea about a debugger, because when somebody builds a world, you want some testers to go in and make sure it's going to work, and so you're going to go in and try to break it. I love doing that. That would be a really cool job. Metaverse marketer. Right? Remember that hyper reality video? All those signs that are popping up in front of everybody to work for one of those companies to be the first, startup company out there that is designing the way we're going to market through the metaverse. VR news reporter. The real world is really cool. Lots of amazing stuff going on, but there'll be a lot going on in the metaverse that we're going to want to know about. So you could be a news reporter. An innkeeper. Same thing back to this idea in a video game. Like, you remember in a video game, or if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, and you go into the inn at some point, or the tavern, to get supplies, and you meet people in there. So in the metaverse, there will be these places too, hotels and inns, where the hospitality of the future. Your avatar goes in there and sees and you imagine the people you would meet in there. Magic items designer. So because avatars will be able to go from one world to another, there's going to be items that you can purchase and use in multiple worlds. So there's going to be a designer for those. PSW for the plugged generation. So that picture of the guy slumping over because he's plugged in too much. Well, there's going to be PSWs needed to go and check on those people and make sure that they're eating and going to the bathroom. And then, of course, metaverse teacher. Can you imagine being a teacher of a bunch of students, and the sky's the limit, right? You got to teach them some skills and knowledge and experiences, and now you have all that infinity at your fingertips to teach them. So last slide here is the reality check. It's all exciting, and it seems incredible and overwhelming. But here's this thing, Roy Amera, who's an American researcher and futurist, came up with this thing that now is called Amera's Law, which is when new, big, exciting things in technology pop up like this, we tend to overestimate them in the short term and underestimate them in the long term. So right now we're in this overestimation phase. We just think it's going to transform everything and it's going to do all these things. And we're probably wrong about that. It's going to take a little longer to come in to play, but it will inundate every aspect of our lives in reality. And that's where we underestimate it in the future. So take a breath. It's the end. And this is the survey results. And I just look at what time it is. We've got 10 minutes. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and see if there's anybody still listening. Okay, that's great. So what we could do, Mira, if you want, is if people are interested in seeing the data, I'll call it up, but we can also maybe have some questions, and you can lead the question thing, and then we'll do the data in a second or two.
Absolutely. So we've just been scanning the questions, and there's been some great questions coming through the chat. One of them that strikes a chord with me is in response to this comment that the 7 rules, the metaverse is for everyone. How do we there's 2 parts to this. How do we address the inequity of access to the technology and bandwidth? And also, how do we respond to this concept? Like now in this pandemic world, people are overwhelmed, people are zoomed out, people are done with digital, want to reconnect in person again. And how do you reconcile those 2 things?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that's part of the overestimation, underestimation bit. Like right now, we're worried that, it's going to divide the world into 2 groups of people, those with access and those without, or those who do not wish to connect, right? And so there'd be almost like 2 different economies happening at the same time. I think in reality, though, the idea around those 7 rules is to make us aware that we have to pay attention to this fact, and that so as it evolves over the next 3, 5, 10 years, 20 years, we want to make sure that it's not excluding people. And it could actually be an opportunity for innovation. And I'm sure it is. So if I was blind and I want to access the metaverse, what is that experience going to be like for me? Is it, what we do now, which is sort of descriptive speech and stuff, or is it a neural interface that allows me then to see the metaverse in some way because it's connecting directly to my brain? I don't know those answers, but I think it's really important to make sure that we're thinking about those things, and that scientists and people like us are aware of it and trying to find those solutions. And then the second part was the people like you having sort of Zoom exhaustion and all that. Yeah, I think actually this could be another. Like I'm kind of an eternal optimist, and one of the things I think it could do is really push the sustainability goals of the world, right? It doesn't seem like it at first when you think about it, but we've got a lot of work to do to solve climate change. And if people are, throwing their hands in the air going, I'm done with all this Zoom and computers, and then focus on the real world and realize that we have to do a lot of work to improve the world and solve some of those climate challenges. But at the same time, that whole dematerialization idea that we might need less physical stuff. So industry changes, our economy moves into the virtual space rather than the physical world. And, maybe it's equal value and people still can make all their money and do all that stuff, but it doesn't destroy the world.
Yeah. And I think after this pandemic's over and we've reconnected again, that's where you see that dip from overestimating to underestimating. Might be where we see the inflection. A question was brought up about what about concerns about large platforms controlling the conditions of engagement, which is what they do right now. And it seems kind of contrary to that concept of that rule that metaverse is for everyone. No one owns it.
Well, I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, those big corporations are going to try to control it. And then the terminology in the space is a walled garden. So it's like if we're all at Facebook and we're going to go into Facebook Horizons, which is their metaverse platform, you need a Facebook account. And when you sign up for a Facebook account, you sign away all your data and blah, blah, blah. Those big companies who are spending humongous amounts of money to build these spaces, yes, they're going to be able to control whatever they want in their space. But just like the internet, I can, create my own web page and build my own space. So it's infinite in that sense. It's just, maybe it's about resources and skills in order to build it. So I just called up the survey. So let's just take a quick look through these things. So these are the devices that people have been using in the last year or the last little while. And, augmented reality, obviously the lowest one. It's not used as much, maybe on your phone a bit, but no one really walks around with those glasses. So how do you feel about do you know a lot? So we've got people halfway up there on knowing about the metaverse and knowing about the virtual economy. There's overexcitement, so people are excited about it, but people are, say, a bit nervous about it as well. And then here we got what applies to you. Yes, I've used AR apps on my phone. Yes, I visited some virtual worlds, 2D or 3D, and 23% have a VR headset, and only 3% of the 34 people who answered own AR glasses. Avatars. So yes, half of us have avatars, and a third of us approximately have more than one avatar. So I'm in that. I don't have too many. I got probably only 2. And then what's an avatar? So that's still 1 out of 5 people don't have an avatar or don't know what one is. Or maybe they have one, they don't know what it is. Which of these apply to you? I use social media sparingly. I am an active social media user. I have friends I only know online. That's surprising, right? Just the people that we've only met online. My avatar has friends in the virtual world. That's pretty surprising to me too. And then none of these apply. And which of these apply to you? I collect in-game tokens. So maybe you play a video game, you're collecting tokens. I have a crypto wallet. That's a fifth of us. I own some cryptocurrency, third of us there. I own an NFT, couple people. That's cool. I own virtual real estate, couple people there. That's probably one person. That's 2% of 28. And then a lot of people, and doesn't apply to me. And the last question was, Which of these apply to you? I've created a virtual world. That's pretty cool. 1/5 of us. And I have created an NFT. It looks like about one person there. And I have created my own cryptocurrency. No one but Mira, I thought you created your own cryptocurrency. Okay, and the others say none. So it's interesting what these numbers say. It's just a quick and dirty survey, but what they say to me is that we are all slowly venturing into several of these things, right? And even cryptocurrencies and NFTs and stuff are very, very new to most people. And yet in our group, we have quite a few people that are
and you're right, Jamie. I have created a crypto. I did a course on digital transformation, and one exercise was to create a cryptocurrency. So yes, I created 1 million Ray coin. Currently so valuable that you can't put a number to how much they're worth.
You own 100% of them?
I own 100% of them. Just the last couple comments, there are comments in here in the chat really about concerns about corporations and trying to, sell our attention and kind of that control element. And there was a comment here about, control by big tech, but also, definitely see the opportunities for currency creation or economic value, but like true like value generation. So wealth generation versus value generation are quite different. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the optimist looks at it to say that if we can own pieces of the internet, like digital objects and such, that transfers, a little bit of value to the everyday person who's using it. I saw this news clip yesterday I was watching where it was reminded you that the only part of the internet that you can really own, that a regular person can own right now, is a domain name. And, that's it. So, I can't own anything else really unless I build a whole software company and build something big that controls the internet like Facebook. But in the new world, I will be able to do that. I'll be able to own digital objects, digital real estate, and maybe then, we can do peer-to-peer transactions. So we don't need the banks and that. They don't take all their transaction fees. And maybe that's a good thing.
Excellent. And then just to close things out, there was a question here about whether you are more excited about what was it, Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Thoughts?
So I need to qualify. I'm not a financial advisor, and any advice I give is worthless. That's cool though. I don't know. People sort of think of Bitcoin like the gold standard, where it's like of cryptocurrencies is just going to be there. It's not that useful. But something like Ethereum is a little bit more useful because you can use it to, build worlds on it, and it's got the its own exchangeable coins and stuff. So it's a little bit more functional. And that's why I would bet on Ethereum being the one. Go Ethereum. Yeah, no.
But with the disclaimer.
But don't forget, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I do have a crypto wallet, and it's got a whole bunch of coins in there, and I just watch them go up and down. I think it's hilarious.
Well, with that, Jamie, thank you very much for a very enlightening talk. A lot of new concepts, trying to wrap my head around them, and I'm sure everyone else is as well. For our audience, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at our next Lunch and Learn event. Stay tuned for more details about our next event, and follow us at Research Innovate, Research RESEARCHINNOV8 on social media. The links will be posted in the chat. You can also visit Burnick Online, which is our YouTube channel, where you can see research, innovation, and entrepreneurship YouTube videos. And be sure to subscribe when you're there so you don't miss any of the content from our team. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you next time.